Christmas Eve. I am so glad that I get to spend time with you today on a special day like Christmas Eve. We're here in the home of the church. Normally, we would be in our church building, or maybe you would visit Salem and visit family and you would come to our church, or maybe you're just looking for a place to connect with God. Well, we're glad you're here today. The church is 168 hours a week. As Christ followers, people who are listening, who have decided to follow Jesus, we don't just follow Jesus on Sundays or special holidays, Christmas Eve, or Easter. We try to follow Jesus 168 hours a week, and that's why we're a church 168 hours a week. So today we're here in the home of the church. And I want you to try to see if you can guess this tree. We're going to play two games. Here's the first one. Whose Christmas tree is this? Let's see if we can find some hints just from the tree itself. You kind of got some, here's a little Thomas the Train ornament because must be someone who likes trains around here. Here's this one's a good one. A little ornament with the cute little kid in there. Can you see that? Well, if you don't know already, this is my home and this is my tree. You're in the Herring household. Welcome to my house. I'm glad you guys have joined me today. This is a place where Christy and I have been living for a couple of years in apartments just about a mile away from the church. And you might notice a few things in the background. Behind me is our bathrooms, and that's the door, and it has a lot of decorations. We love to decorate our house, and those aren't Christmas decorations. Those are little boy, decorations. I have 3 children, James, Jordan, and Jackson, and they love coloring Pokemon. I probably have hundreds of Pokemon that have been colored and cut and that are just all over my house. It might be a problem. I'm not too sure, but I know my kids love doing it, and I enjoy, taking part in that with them. Perhaps your home is unique in that way too, whether you have kids or you have grandkids or you have roommates, and it's just a taste of your home. Welcome to my house. Time for game number 2. It's called First, Last, Best, and Worst. This is one of my favorite games because you can play it with someone you've never met. Maybe you just met them because you're at your in-laws and you haven't met any of the cousins, or you're at the restaurant and you're waiting in line, and this is kind of a game you can actually do with people in line with you or people you meet just randomly. It's called First, Last, Best, Worst. And whether you know that person really, really well, what's great about this game, you learn more things about them. And you get to share some cool things about you that maybe are a little surprising. So let's play it. The category is Christmas memories. And you can choose any kind of category you want. But perhaps today, after this video, or you can pause it and you can play it right away, you would say a story that comes to mind when you think of your first Christmas memory, your last Christmas memory, your best, or your worst. You can choose any of those. So think of a Christmas memory. Maybe it's your first one you can remember, or maybe the one last year, or the best one or the worst one, just, and share that. I'll share one with you. One of the best Christmas memories I've had was being a bus driver. For many years, Carrie Mayhew, who's been leading our after-school program at the church, because we're a church for the neighborhood, put together a Kaiser Lights tour with all the kids in our after-school program. It was so much fun because I would get to be the bus driver. I would drive about 20 or so kids with Carrie and some other adults all the way to Kaiser, and we would tour the lights. And we would have all sorts of fun. It's just, you wouldn't believe how much joy you could get out of something like Christmas lights until you have 20 kids singing Jingle Bells at the same time, going, ooh, ah, at all the different lights that are there. It was has been one of my favorite memories of Christmas and ministry with the church. And now, we're not quite doing the same thing because of COVID, but I have been able to share that with my kids with the Christmas Kaiser lights, and even taking them to the other things around Salem that are fun with children, or just kind of bring out the joy and wonder in kids. But what about you? I hope you can find some good stories, or maybe hopefully a story this year that you could share because of just the people you're with, or maybe the memories you make. Because I've learned, traditions, it's not all about traditions. This year there's been a lot of traditions that's had to be broken, and it's been really hard. Usually we would be meeting at 6 o'clock on the day before Christmas and have that traditional candle lighting. There's traditions of, spending time with multiple families. There's all sorts of traditions throughout the year that's just kind of had to be broken. Maybe you've had a birthday and you weren't able to do your traditional birthday celebration. There's just been lots of traditions that we've had to kind of adjust and change. But I believe it's not about the traditions. In fact, the first Christmas had nothing to do with traditions. The first Christmas that we find in the scriptures, because Christmas is, for people who believe in God and follow Jesus, Christmas is all about celebrating the birth of Jesus. And that's, kind of what we see as the first Christmas. Maybe you're making a birthday cake and celebrating a birthday for Jesus. Some people do that. But I want to take us back to that first Christmas of Jesus, that we see where presents come in. But before I do that, I want to share one more memory. I'm in the living room with my family and my wife and our 1-year-old son, James. We were in my house on 550 Mountain Lake Drive, Waco, Texas. This was a house that I grew up most of my childhood in, middle school, high school years, and a lot of my siblings had most of their time in this house as well. And we all were there in the same household. We just finished opening all the Christmas presents. So all the wrapping paper was everywhere. The boxes were empty. Everybody's having their first cup of coffee still. We're in our pajamas. But then my dad said, there's one more gift. And it goes around to all the families. And all the families are coming from different areas. So if you know much about me or my family, I'm from Texas and I live in Oregon. So visiting family is a big deal. But so are my siblings. My siblings live in different states of the country too, whether it's North Carolina, Colorado, far north Texas. So gathering together was a big deal for us as a family, especially what we would later find out to be one of our last Christmases together in this home where we have so many memories attached. My dad gets up and he gives out all of us an envelope. And, we just got done unwrapping all these presents and we're wondering, okay, so maybe this is a card and, that has a Christmas saying on it that would be typical, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, you're the best son ever. I mean, I get that all the time. Just kidding. But, when you open those Christmas notes, you usually have maybe a gift card that would pop out or some cash. And so that's kind of what I was expecting. But as I'm opening it up, this was a big letter. I mean, this is a folded piece of paper, 8 by 11, all folded up. And I'm looking around and all my siblings, all the other families have the same exact envelope and are opening up this huge letter. And this is unusual. Does everybody have the same gift as me? I'm not as special as I really think I am. Well, what I start to read is that there's been a vacation on a cruise that's been paid for me and my family to take in the summertime. And there's been a vacation for my siblings and their family to take during summertime. And we even had this option to do a 5-day cruise, because this was a cruise vacation, or a 7-day cruise. And we've never been on a cruise. This was incredible. I mean, how many opportunities I, I was just, in the moment, I didn't have many words to express myself. This was going to be an amazing vacation, 6 months from now. I was already imagining, being on the boat, having, being able to just jump in the water and having all the food that you can eat and relaxing. But it wasn't until after we decided, let's do the 7-day cruise as a family, that I really understood what Christmas was about. Because, when you get a gift, you say thank you, and we all turn to my dad and we say, thank you, Dad, and, make sure he knows that we appreciate it. we really were trying to be appreciative. But then he started to talk, but it wasn't the type of talking we normally see from my dad. You could tell there was some emotion. His eyes were getting to be watery. Tears started to form, and he began to say some words. And instantly I knew this was going to be important, because I don't see my dad cry very much. There's probably maybe just a handful of times where I could maybe say I've seen my dad cry. We're all leaning forward, listening, wanting to know what's this all about? Why is this, what are you worked up about? Well, he began to look around at all the families there, and he said, this is what Christmas is about. Not the presents. He didn't look at the presents. He didn't look at the wrapping paper. He didn't look at, the envelope that he even gave us. He said, no, you guys being here together is what makes this so special. It's the people in the room that Christmas is about. And it makes so much sense. I mean, that's why he bought this cruise, so that there'd be another opportunity to bring the same people in that room together again, to make more memories and create stories and have a time together. And that, I want to direct our attention to that. If we look at the first Christmas, that is so close to what the first Christmas was all about. And I hope that just being reminded of this can help us see what it's all about. So I just want to dive into the story of these 3 wise men that bring these gifts, where we see, the first type of Christmas we see in the Bible, and see what their posture was, because it's not really much different. So I'm going to take you in Matthew chapter 2. These 3 wise men from another country come into the household of Mary and Joseph. So imagine Uncle and Aunt Joe and Cousin Bobby just came into your home. They traveled, or your sibling from college, it comes back, and they come in, and what do? This is what these 3 wise men do. Verse 11, Matthew chapter 2, says, on entering the house, they saw the child with Mary his mother, and they knelt down and paid him homage. Circle that word, homage. Or maybe you have another translation there. Then, opening their treasure chests, they offered him gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Let's pause. What comes first in their celebration of Christmas? What comes first? Let me reread that, because sometimes I think we do it totally backwards. It says that they entered the house, they knelt down and paid him homage. What is homage? Homage is just a real fancy old school term for worship. It's publicly acknowledging. It's publicly showing respect and honor for. These 3 wise men come in and publicly, in front of their mom and dad, say, you are the King of the Jews. You are going to save Israel. There's all these titles they could have thrown in there, but it just says they paid homage to Jesus. They worshiped him. And then out of the overflow of this worship, they gave gifts. Unfortunately, sometimes we get that backwards. We think, it's Christmas time, I got to give gifts. It's Christmas time, I got to go get gifts. I got to make sure that I got all the gifts for my children, my spouse, my uncle, my aunt, my brother, my sister. Got to get all those gifts, because that's what you do during Christmas time. I mean, right? Makes sense. Some of you might even be going to get gifts after this at Walmart. It's okay. It's okay. But let us be reminded today The reason that these gifts were given, because it was from the overflow of their worship to Jesus. And it was the people in the room that were the most important to these magi. For my dad, it was the people in that room. It was his children. It was his family. And in seeing that, that was the most important thing. Not the gifts and the Christmas traditions and things like that. It's just the people. And so today, I'd love for you to just be reminded. What are the things that are the most important? The people in the room. That Jesus, the worship, that is why we give these gifts, because, man, I'm so thankful Jesus came. Like, we got the greatest gift of all from God, his son, who paid his life so that you could have life. And we get to yearly celebrate that in just the rhythm called Christmas. Now, in just a few moments, we're going to hear a few songs from my wife, Christine, and my friend, Zach, and I hope you enjoy them. But don't forget, may this Christmas season be about the people and be about what comes out of the worship of Jesus. And I encourage you, what's your first, last, best, and worst Christmas story or Christmas memory? And I hope that helps you find out what's most important in your life. Thanks.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Zach Jackson.
I'm Christine Herring.
And happy Merry Christmas Eve to you and yours, from her home to yours. Tonight, we are going to sing O Come, Emmanuel. So please sing with us.